Check 1, 2. Check 1, 2. How low can I make my voice go? Check 1, 2. Check 1, 2. Yeah, it's hard for me to go higher. It's a lot easier for me to talk lower. Check 1, 2. Welcome to this English lesson. We'll get started in about 30 seconds. Just checking a few things here, making sure everything is working properly. Hopefully it is. So far, so good. Yes, I think everything's good. We'll start in about 12 seconds to wait till the number says what I want to say. We'll start in about 6 seconds. There we go. Hope everyone's ready to learn a lot of English. Well, hello and welcome to this English lesson about personal transportation. Now, you might be wondering, what is personal transportation? Well, I wanted to do a lesson on how we move ourselves in the world, but I didn't want to talk about cars and trucks and buses. I wanted to talk about all of the ways we move or travel that are just for us, for one person. Some of these, sometimes you can have a second person, but all of the things that I'm going to talk about today, all of the personal transportation things that I'm going to talk about usually involve one person. Sometimes with some of these things, there is room for a second person, but never more than two. So once again, welcome to this English lesson about personal transportation. If you're still a little bit confused as to what this lesson is going to be about, you'll see in just a moment. Well, hey, thank you for being here, everyone. Thanks to Mode Eggs and Dave for being here. They said they're going to keep an eye on the chat for me, so that's awesome. Thank you to the two of you. Hello to Brent from Speak English with This Guy. Hi to Ralph and Sis, Key Park, Mode Eggs again, Freddie Wolf. Let me scroll back. Lolly Lolly, Orkin, Irina. Just checking some names. Know That is here as well. Good to see all of you. Black Panther, Ralph. Starting to say names twice, but hello and welcome to this English lesson about personal transportation. You might think it's a little bit of an odd topic, but if you remember, my goal isn't to cover all of the most popular topics. Sorry, guess what? I forgot this. I'll put this on. I'm not planning to cover all of the most popular topics. I wanted to cover all the topics. So as I was driving the other day, it was really warm and I saw someone go by on a motorcycle and I thought I should do a lesson about things like that. Anyways, hello to all of you. Please remember, if you have a question, please use the link in the chat to answer that question. It's in the description below as well. It just keeps things orderly. I will pause the lesson every once in a while to answer those questions. And please use the chat for chatting, for good English conversations. Practice your reading and writing while you listen to me. So let me see. Are we ready to get started? I think we are. Let me do one more little check here. Yes, everything looks like it's working well. And I think we should get started. Here we go. Skateboard. So a skateboard is a small, I was just going to say it's a small piece of wood with 4 wheels on it. This is something that I never learned to do. I never learned to skateboard. But skateboarders usually have a skateboard and they go to places like this. This is a skate park in Canada and in big cities in North America. There will often be a skate park where people who like to skateboard can go. Skateboarding's pretty cool, but when you grow up out in the countryside, there are things you don't get to do. There's not a lot of pavement out here. There's not a lot of flat surfaces. So I never ever had a skateboard and I never learned to use one. My brother had one though, and he used it in the barn for a little while because the barn has concrete floors. But first personal transportation device, skateboard, sometimes used to get somewhere, but more often used just for fun. Hoverboard. So this is a newer device. I think 20 or 30 years ago, these would have been impossible. If I tried one of these, I would fall off. But it's basically a flat thing with two wheels, and the computer inside tries to keep it balanced while you're standing on it. Again, if I was to use one of these, it would probably zip really quickly in one direction, and I would fall off, and I would most likely have to go to the hospital with some sort of broken bone. But I have seen these at school from time to time. Students do have these. They're not allowed in our hallways, but I have also seen people using them outside occasionally. There's a park near us with pavement paths, and I saw someone using one last summer. I would never use one. A Segway. Now, this is more my style. I have not tried a Segway. A Segway is a little more, let's see, what's a good word for it? A little safer, perhaps. Although I have seen some fail videos on YouTube where people have crashed off the path with their Segway. But again, a Segway is a transportation device where the computer inside and the sensors allow it to stay upright. So even if you lean back or forward, it doesn't fall over. It simply makes you drive forward or backward. So this is motorized. I should mention as well that a hoverboard is motorized, and we'll talk about electric skateboards in a bit. So this is a two-wheeled motorized. That means it has a motor. And like you don't have to pedal or anything like that. Now this is something I would love to try. A one wheel is something that would work on my property. You don't have to be on a perfectly flat surface, but I hear that these are also things that older people fall off of sometimes. Maybe I should have said this lesson was about things old people fall off of. But no, a one wheel basically, like it says, it has one wheel. It's in the middle. And again, it uses sensors and a computer inside to balance. When you tilt forward or lean forward, it would go forward. Let me rephrase that. When you tilt it forward or when you lean forward, it goes forward. And then if you go the other way, it slows down or stops. So skateboards are cool, but as we become more and more modern in the world, people like to make electric versions of things. This is an electric skateboard. This is called a boosted board. And if you see on top, there's a little controller. The electric skateboard itself has a battery and it has motors. So it has electric motors, I think just on the back wheels, but it might be all four wheels on some of them. And you use the controller to adjust the speed. So you stand on the electric skateboard and you don't have to like push with your foot or go down a hill. You simply use the little controller to adjust your speed. Lots of fun. Ice skates. Now, this is something I do know how to do. I do know how to ice skate. A lot of Canadian kids learn to skate, maybe less now than when I was young. But when I was young, we would often go skating in the winter. I do have a pair of ice skates. I have a nice black pair of hockey skates. These are called figure skates, by the way. There are two different kinds of skates, but I won't get into it. But yes, ice skating is when you have, like there's the boot part and then a metal blade. And the metal blade is sharp. And I don't know if you knew this, but the blade actually melts a tiny bit of the ice. So when you're ice skating, it's actually the melted ice under the blade that makes things slippery. Ice skating is a lot of fun. I haven't been ice skating this year. I did go to the arena, but I didn't bring my skates. I should do that. They do need to be sharpened. And of course, there's roller skates, which have four wheels, and rollerblades, which also have 4 or 5 wheels, but they're all in a straight line. Hopefully you can see the difference here. Let me make it bigger. Roller skates are something I would consider an older version of skates with wheels. Rollerblades would be a relatively newer. But what I mean by that is these are from the 70s and 80s. Rollerblades are from the mid 80s onwards. People decided. So a rollerblade is more like a hockey skate, but it has a single line of wheels on the bottom. If you can skate with ice skates, it's very easy to skate with rollerblades. They feel very similar. It's a little harder to push. It's a little harder to get up to speed. but definitely rollerblades. Again, some of these items are used for actual transportation. When I was a kid, I did skate to town once to buy some chocolate bars on the river. But generally, roller skates are for fun and rollerblades are for exercise or for fun. People don't often rollerblade to work or school, although you could if you wanted to. Then we have the traditional bike or bicycle. I think everyone knows what a bike is. It has two wheels, pedals, and a handlebar, and brakes. Good thing it has brakes, and a shifter, so you can shift into different gears. But this is definitely a personal transportation device that you could use to get to work or school, or you could just use for fun. And then there is, of course, the unicycle. So simply one wheel, not like the one wheel, but one wheel with pedals. And you have to have a good sense of balance in order to use a unicycle. But certainly interesting. I have never tried riding a unicycle. This actually interests me, though. I should maybe try this someday. I think it would be lots of fun. And then, of course, we have electric bikes or e-bikes. Sometimes we take the word electric and we just use the first letter. So an e-bike looks a lot like a normal bike, but if you look at the middle part above the pedals, you'll see it's really thick because it probably has a large battery in it. And the back wheel at the center has a small electric motor. So as we move further and further into the modern age, people are doing things like making bikes electric, making them into e-bikes. Hey, let's look at some questions though. Let me get a sip of water. I'm super thirsty. And hi to the 320 people watching. Good to see you here. I hope you understand what the lesson's about now. All of the different ways that we get around in the world. Let me see here. From Ruslan. Hello, dear teacher Bob. How are you, sir? I'm good, Ruslan. How are you? Are e-bikes popular in Canada? There, let me fix that. Are e-bikes popular in Canada? And can I leave it outside without a bike lock? So yes, they are popular. No, you can't leave it outside without a bike lock, especially if you're in a bigger city. Definitely, we have fairly safe cities in Canada, but people do steal things, so I wouldn't leave it outside. But they are becoming more and more popular, especially as the price of gas goes up, as it becomes more expensive to drive. People are finding other forms of transportation. Sukena, morning teacher Bob. Hi, Sukena. Have you ever taken a gondola ride? Greetings from Malaysia. No, I have not. By the way, I think MA is Malaysia. Let me check. What is MA short for country? Morocco. Really? There's no A in Morocco. Anyways, hi. Let me keep moving on. No, I have not taken a gondola ride. I've taken a funiculaire, which is like a thing that goes up a hill on tracks, but I have never taken a gondola ride. I have gone up a ski lift sitting in a chair, but that is the gist of it. That's it. This is from Farouz. Hello, the best teacher Bob. Thank you so much for your lessons. You're welcome. It's fun to do them. Let me just see here. In the chat, Unsel says, hi, dear teacher Bob. Unfortunately, I can't watch because I'm working right now. Have a great time, everybody. Sorry about that, Unsel, but sometimes work takes precedent. In English, when you say something takes precedent, it means it's more important. So enjoy your time at work today. From Yaroslav, morning, the wisest teacher Bob. Hope you are great. What personal transportations are commonly used in big cities of Canada? Take care. So bicycles would be the most common form of personal transportation, I think. Obviously, if we look at larger ways of moving, cars, but that's not really a personal transportation. I keep saying device. It's a form of travel. There we go. And motorcycles are fairly common, but we do have winter and you can't drive them in the winter. So I would say most likely in the city, bicycles would be the most common. Yep. And then, of course, the most common would be a car. We drive everywhere in North America. We love our cars. Mode says, as an imaginative, fiction-loving person, describe the mode of transport that people or even other beings would use in a futuristic fictional world of your own creation. So when I see drones, and I think they're going to scale drones up to a size where it'll be like a motorcycle, but with propellers on each corner. They've built some of these already, a little personal drone that you fly around in. I think once they can make that extremely safe, I think people will be flying their own little drones around. I think the computer inside will do most of the flying. I think you will be not much more than a passenger, but definitely that's what I see happening. Andre says, hello, Mr. Bob. Please explain the word commute. May I use transportation interchangeably? No. So commute specifically refers to getting to work or getting to school and getting home again. My commute is about 12 minutes. It takes me about 12 minutes to get to work. If someone said, how long is your commute, Bob? I would say 12 minutes, and we would be talking about the drive back and forth to work. So it's a very specific word to talk about driving somewhere. And driving, like commute usually means that you're driving a car or riding in a car. Let me get a sip here. Like if I walked to work, and if you said, how long is your commute? I would say, oh, I just walk to work. It takes me 5 minutes. So from Aslan, are there any payments for trucks for using federal roads in Canada? So there's two things that you have to pay for when you have a vehicle. You have to pay every year for your license plate, although they just got rid of that in Ontario. Yeah. Okay, so never mind. That in some places you have to pay for the number on the back of your car. You have to pay every year. And we do have what are called toll roads. There aren't a lot of them, but there are certain roads where if you drive on it, you have to pay money. There's only one that I know of, the 407, I think it is a toll road. From Omegle, can you ride a bicycle? Yes, I can. I learned to ride my bike when I was very young. I first had training wheels. There was an extra set of wheels on the side until I learned to keep my balance. And my dad kept raising the training wheels so that I really had to think. And then eventually we took them off. So Ario, hola, Mr. Bob, how are you? What is the difference between personal transportation and personal vehicles? Thank you. So personal transportation would be all the little ways you can travel by yourself, like bicycle, rollerblades, one wheel, Segway, some of the ones I've talked about. A personal vehicle is simply a car that you own, a car or truck or van. So I might have a work vehicle. At a job, the boss might let you drive a vehicle that belongs to the company. That would be a work vehicle. The car I own is then called a personal vehicle. Let's see here. Vlad with a quick question, not quite on topic. Hello, Bob. It's not really about transportation, but I just wanted to ask, which programming language do you teach and which one do you like? Thanks for the lesson. I teach using a piece of software called Construct 3, which allows students to build computer games, and it also allows them to program in JavaScript. So that is what I use. Amir says, hello, Bob. Good to see you again, and love from Pakistan. My question is out of topic or off topic. Can we meet you over there in Canada? Someday I might have what's called a meetup in Toronto. If I ever do that, I will let all of you know in advance, where I will meet people who have watched my lessons for a long time. At this point in time, I have no plan to do that, but I will in the future think of doing something like that. Now that the pandemic is kind of ending, I can start to do things like that again. Okay, back to the lesson. Here we go. Where are we at? Motorcycle. So if any of you have been watching my lessons for a while, you'll know that I actually had a motorcycle when I was much younger. It looked exactly like this one. It was a Yamaha 400 Maxim. It was red. This is exactly the motorcycle that I own. This is not a picture of mine. I just found one on the internet. A motorcycle is kind of cool. It's very cheap to drive. Gas is really cheap. It gets really good gas mileage, we would say. It's, I don't know, it was just fun because when you drive somewhere, it feels like you're outside. It feels like you're flying a little bit. The only thing I would say though is a motorcycle is very, very dangerous. So I would be cautious if I were you driving a motorcycle. Let's see here. There is another type of motorcycle called a dirt bike. So a dirt bike is a motorcycle, but it's built especially for going off-road. So a motorcycle is made for driving on the road. A dirt bike can drive on the road, but it can also drive off the road. And we call that an off-road vehicle. So a dirt bike has really nubby tires, we would say, if you see the tires. It's very high off the ground and it has really good shocks. That's what makes the ride smooth. So dirt bikes are actually fairly common out here in the countryside. My neighbors' kids have dirt bikes and sometimes I see them driving out in the field with their dirt bike. So again, motorcycle goes on the road, dirt bike goes anywhere, pretty much anywhere. So this next little section is going to be kind of funny. At least it was funny for me. This is a scooter. This is a scooter. This is a scooter. We use the word scooter for a variety of things in Canada. This scooter is a small two-wheeled motorized vehicle. It's not a motorcycle. It's much smaller than a motorcycle and it goes much slower. They're very common in some parts of Europe. They're not very common here. But if I saw this, I would say, oh, nice scooter. I love the color blue. This is something that kids use and it's similar to a skateboard, except that it only has two wheels and it has handlebars. They'll do little tricks and they'll drive it around on the sidewalk and they'll even take it to the skate park. And there is an electric version of the scooter as well now where you can actually drive the scooter around without having to push with your foot. This is the type of scooter that older people use when they have trouble walking. Sometimes when I go to the grocery store, there's a man there who shops and buys his groceries, but he uses a scooter. So he has a little scooter to scoot around. By the way, scoot is a verb as well. So for me in English, at least in my part of Canada, this is a scooter, this is a scooter, and this is a scooter. They're all scooters. Do you like that word, by the way, scooter? It's fun to say. This is an ATV or four-wheeler. ATV stands for all-terrain vehicle. This is kind of what they invented when people were getting tired of falling off their dirt bikes. That's how I would describe it. It's a vehicle used to drive off-road. Some of them have four-wheel drive where all four tires turn at the same time, like all four tires have power. Some are just two-wheel drive, just the back tires have power. But an ATV is a fun vehicle to drive. There are many, many farmers that own ATVs and use them to drive around on their farms. And there are many, many young people, teenagers who have them because they just like going out off-road and driving and having fun. So ATV, all-terrain vehicle. This is a moped. You do not see these very much anymore. It's very rare to see a moped. A moped is like a bicycle and like a motorcycle. It's kind of a combination of the two. If you look closely, you'll see that it has pedals. So you can pedal a moped, or you can put gas in it and start the motor and drive the moped. So it's a combination of a motorcycle, see the MO, and pedals, PED, so moped. So motorized pedal bike, maybe that was the long version of the name. But again, we don't see these very often anymore. They're very rare in Canada. I think they've gone out of fashion. It's not fashionable anymore. I think other things have replaced the moped, but still a fun word to say, isn't it? Moped. So sometimes people need a wheelchair to get around. So this is a way of transporting yourself. If, for instance, you have injured your legs, or maybe you have another condition that prevents you from walking. Maybe you were born and it's difficult to walk because of a certain condition you have. Maybe you were in an accident and you're unable to use your legs. In all those situations, you would use a wheelchair to get around. And if you are injured just temporarily, you might need to use crutches. Crutches are what you use when you twist your ankle or break your leg. You might need to use your arms with crutches in order to help you walk everywhere. I was on crutches once when I was a little kid because, well, no, I wasn't a kid. I was almost in my 20s, actually. Actually, twice I was on crutches. Once a cow fell on my leg, and once I injured my ankle playing baseball. I don't know if I've ever told the story of the cow falling on my leg. I'll tell it sometime, but not right now. A cow fell on my leg once. I grew up on a farm. If you're older, you might use a cane. A cane is simply like a stick with a nice handle on it. It might be made out of wood or metal. Usually it's made out of aluminum. By the way, in Canada, we say aluminum. In the United States, we say aluminum. In Britain, they say aluminium. We don't say that here. We say aluminum. It's a little easier to say, I think. But a cane is something that you use that assists you when you need to walk. Let's go out on the water for a bit. You can use a kayak. A kayak is a small boat made for just one person, and you sit in the middle of it and you paddle. I have 2 kayaks, and last summer we went kayaking quite a bit because I live on the river. It's smaller than a canoe. It's smaller than a rowboat. It's smaller than a motorboat, and it doesn't have a motor. So a kayak looks like this. It's a very fun, I guess we would call it a personal watercraft. It's like a mouthful to say that. And it's similar to a canoe, but a canoe is actually more open. A canoe has room for more people. And when you go in a canoe, you also paddle. Both kayaks and canoes are usually used on rivers and lakes and not usually used in the ocean. It's a little too dangerous to go in the ocean with it. But for me, going kayaking on the river is fun. Sometimes a friend of mine will come down with his canoe and we will go canoeing on the river. That is fun as well. Fun to do. I would never do this, but this is a hang glider. A hang glider is like a giant kite. If you don't know what a kite is, you have a string and then there's 2 pieces of wood with some fabric or plastic and a little tail, and you fly it in the wind. A hang glider is kind of like a kite, kind of like a wing above you, and you jump off a cliff or mountain and then you just fly down. I say that like I know how to hang glide. I have never been hang gliding. I would never go hang gliding. But this is definitely a form of transportation that you would do for fun. It is a leisure activity. And this is a wingsuit. I would not do this ever. I'm afraid of heights. So I'm scared of heights, so I would never do this. But a wingsuit makes your entire body into a wing so that you can fly for a little bit. And I think at the end, you have a parachute. It looks like this guy has a parachute on his back, right? I think so, for sure. And then we have a surfboard. So you can go surfing on waves. I have never tried surfing, but it is something I would like to try someday. Yes, you find big waves in the ocean. You swim out to the waves and then you get on your surfboard and you surf. Lots of fun. Again, a form of transportation that is mostly used for fun. I have never done this, but I would love to do this. A zip line is when you hook yourself onto a rope that goes from a high spot to a lower spot and you zip along. There is a zip line in Niagara Falls, and Brent and I, before the pandemic, talked about if he came to Niagara Falls, we should do the zip line. I'm still willing to do that someday, Brent. There is a zip line in Niagara Falls that takes you from a very high point on a rope to a low point. You clip yourself on and then you slide along the rope, or you zip along the rope. Yes, I would do that. Even though I'm afraid of heights, I think I would go zip lining. This is something, of course, though, many of you know I would never do. I would never jump out of an airplane. I would never go parachuting. It's just that this terrifies me. There's no way I would do this. But it is another way of moving through time and space, right? Time? Yeah, I guess time. It's a way of transporting yourself from one place to another. You do this by putting a parachute on your back and it's packed in. And then you jump out of a plane and you either pull the ripcord, or as you jump, it's pulled for you and the parachute deploys and you float down to Earth. So I'm not ever doing this one. Hey, let's go to members only chat more. Brent says, I need to hear that story about the cow falling on Bob's leg one day. Someday I will tell it. And then Brent says, I'm in, let's do it. Zipline. Yes, you need to find your way to Niagara Falls. That would be fun. Okay, let me get to members only chat. I'm losing track here of what I'm doing. Let me turn on members only chat. Let me have a sip of water. Let me say hi to the 388 people watching. By the way, if you're new here, there is a subscribe button here. You should click it. If you're a member, you can ask questions in the chat directly, and I will be happy to answer them. I will also get a few questions from the forum. From Giovanni, it's so good to be back. Although I'm working, I'm all ears. I recently found the online tool ChatGPT. I had read in one of your posts. Thanks for the tip. Yeah, so ChatGPT is interesting. It's an interesting way. By the way, you can use it to practice your English. I'll do a video at some point explaining. I found a few really cool things you can do with it. I'll make a video showing that someday. But let me jump to the chat for a sec. Noriko says, I did the zip lining last year. Worth it. Oh, very cool. And Noriko also says to Brent, don't forget to shoot a video for us. Yes, it would be bad to do that and not shoot a video. It would be unfortunate if we forgot to shoot a video while ziplining. Yeah, and why are men so crazy about motorbikes? I'm going to add an S. How about you, Bob? When I was younger, a motorbike gave me freedom. It allowed me to go where I wanted to go without asking if I could use my parents' car. It was the cheapest way for me to buy something that I could use to get somewhere. And so I think that's one thing. The other thing is when you ride a motorcycle or a motorbike, it's just a nice feeling. You have the wind. You feel free. I think it's like riding a horse. Maybe it takes us back in time and we feel like we're out on a horse on the plains hunting or something like that. From Know That in the chat. Let's see here. Hey, Mr. Bob, when you go ice skating, are you able to skate backwards? Yes, I can skate forwards. I can skate backwards. I can cross over my skates when I go around corners forward. I can cross my skates going back. So I can turn going forwards and backwards. When I played hockey when I was younger, I played defense. When you play defense, you need to be able to skate backwards. So I didn't play hockey a lot. Mostly I played what's called pond hockey outside. But yes, I can skate forwards and backwards, all directions. Most Canadians can do that, I think, or they used to be able to. Freddie Wolf, Bob, I can see in some huge grocery stores, in order to save time, some employees wear roller skates to help control prices when there is a price problem at the checkouts. They do kilometers a day. That's interesting. I never thought about that, but it is a fast way to get around, isn't it? Harry 300 says, I love the ground so much, I don't want to be away from it. I'm also scared of heights. Yeah, it depends where I am. We went up the Skylon Tower in Niagara Falls a number of years ago, and I didn't like it. My family loved it, but I didn't like it. Mode says, I see you enjoy saying scooter, so you might want to read this sentence. Scott scooted with his scooter. Was Scott Scottish? I bet you Scott's Scottish. Scott from Scotland, because he's Scottish, scooted with his scooter. Yaroslav, what transportation did you use in your childhood, teacher Bob? My bike. like my bicycle. I had a bike. I rode everywhere on the farm with my bike, and I would bike to my friend's house to visit him. Yes, as a kid, I definitely used my bike a lot. Juliana, in the very first lesson you mentioned about a skateboard, do you have a specific word referring to the place-to-place skateboard? Yes, we call it a skate park. So most cities will have a skate park. Some towns will have a skate park. Let's see here. Harry says, is the word commute only used for going to work? How about going to school? Can we use it? Yeah, you can use it for school as well. I mean, it's mostly used for work. But if someone said, I'm going to Mohawk College, or are you living on campus or at home? Oh, I'm living at home. I could say, what's the commute like? So yes, you could use it for that. Key Park, I tried ChatGPT to learn English. It's interesting. Yes. What's interesting is it remembers what you're talking about. And so that allows you to do some really cool tricks with it. I'll show you one of those in a video in the future. Bean Sean says, yes, riding a motorbike made me feel free. Yes. Freddie Wolf, elevators are the most used means of transport in the world with millions of kilometers. Oh, they would be, wouldn't they? I didn't put that on my list. They would definitely be very popular. No, that says, thanks, Bob. I'm only able to do on rollerblades. Oh, yes. So rollerblades, I've only used rollerblades a few times, and I found it was very easy to use them, but they were harder than ice skates. When you're on the ice, you don't have to make a lot of effort to move forwards and backwards. With rollerblades, though, you have to work harder. Juliana, also bike and bicycle are the same, right? What about cycle, motorbike, and motorcycle? So I would say bike and bicycle are the same. Sometimes we say, I'm going to cycle to work, but we often just use the word bike. I'm going to bike to work. So cycle, not used as much. And then motorcycle and motorbike are the same. I could say, oh, there are a lot of motorbikes going by today, or there are a lot of motorcycles going by. Noriko says to Harry 300, try to get out of your comfort zone. Freddie Wolf says, if one day we meet you, it would be a plaisir to play hockey with you. It would be fun. I shoot left, by the way. Even though I'm right-handed, I hold my hockey stick and I shoot left, which is odd. Most right-handed people shoot right, but I shoot left. I think I still have a hockey stick somewhere. Modag says, I think the only reason Mr. Bob is waiting for Brent to do the zip line is because he needs someone to help him overcome his fear. Peer pressure is a real thing. Brave Brent would do it without batting an eye, probably. That is one of the things. When someone else is willing to do something, it's easier to decide to do it. Okay, I have a question here, but it's not on topic, so I am going to skip it. Another question. I'll talk about this one, though, because it's somewhat related. Abdul Hamad Romanov says, Assalamu alaikum. Which regions of Canada are more comfortable and better for IT students? And which universities do you advise to apply for economics and IT? All of them. All the Canadian universities are good. The University of Waterloo is well known for its computer science department. But any university, you'll do well, for sure. Ooh. Christy, what type of vehicle would you choose to use if you had an alternative? A self-driving robot car. I don't mind driving to work, but when we drive long distances, I would prefer to have a car that drives itself. Giovanni, Mr. Bob, I heard you talking about bicycles. You've seen how many bicycles there are in Holland and the Netherlands? That's insane in a good way. They've done a good job of designing cities in the Netherlands that are bicycle friendly. They have bike lanes and special lanes just for bikes. Very cool. Wanda, hi Teacher Bob, do you practice any kind of winter sport? Thanks. No, I do winter walking. That's where you walk and try not to slip. No, that says, perhaps you can show us your skate skills in one of your shorts. Oh, I should do that someday. I'll have to make sure I find a time to go skating. Mode says, I have a similar phenomenon. I'm left-handed, but I shoot the ball with my right foot when I play football or soccer. Yeah, it's interesting how right-handedness and left-handedness, it's not always consistent, right? Like with baseball, I catch with my left hand, because I'm right-handed and I want to throw with my right hand. But my friend who's right-handed catches with his right hand and throws with his left hand, even though he's right-handed. Cool, Mode. Brent from Speak English with This Guy. Ziplining is one thing. Trying to teach English on camera while ziplining will definitely be a challenge, a good challenge. Yeah, and you have to pay money to go ziplining. So if we get it wrong the first time, we have to pay to do it again. So hopefully we can figure that out. Mode says, why don't you skate on camera, Bob? If the weather cooperates, I will try to remember to do that. Harry300 says, Noriko, I should. Haha, I'm also scared of deep sea. Unfortunately, I didn't join Brent's live last week about fear. Yeah, that would have been a good lesson to learn about how to describe your fears. Brent says to Mode, I'm also left-handed. Cool. One of my kids is left-handed. I won't say which one. Yan San says, how about those motorbikes looking but powered by electricity? We would call that, yeah, I'm not sure the exact name, like an electric motorcycle. We don't have names for everything yet, so we have to, I think, still come up with a good name for that one. Let me get another question from the form. Let's see here. Orsi, hi Bob. Do Canadians sometimes use the word pirogue instead of canoe? Is it the same thing? I am not familiar with that word, so I'm going to say no. We don't use that word. Okay, I'm going to turn off members chat and I'm going to finish this lesson off. I almost clicked the button to end the lesson by accident. That would have been bad. Let me make sure I click the right button here. Here we go. Save that. And I think we're good to go. Okay, let me see here. Back to the chat for 1 second to finish it off. Mode says, have a sip for sure. Freddy Wolf says, oui, c'est cool de conduire un vélo. Un vélo. Do you use conduire with vélo? I'm not sure. In the Netherlands, because the landscape is mostly flat. Ah, that would be cool. I still need to visit there. Noriko also left-handed. And Mode says, I see there's a pattern here. Yes, to be a Bobby, you need to be less left-handed possibly. Okay, let's finish the lesson off. Snowshoes. You may not be familiar with these. Snowshoes are special shoes you wear on top of your boots or below your boots so that you can walk on deep snow. Jen and I have a pair of snowshoes, but it hasn't been, there hasn't been deep enough snow to actually use them. But when the snow gets really deep, when you try to walk on it without snowshoes, your feet go in and it's very difficult to walk. Snowshoes make it easier. It's still difficult to walk. They do make it a little bit easier though. But if you look at this person's feet, you'll see they have kind of these flat webbed platforms that allow them to walk on snow, and they are called snowshoes. There are two kinds of skis. There are downhill skis and cross-country skis. They're somewhat similar, but also not. If you saw them, you might think they're the same, but they're not. Cross-country skis allow you to ski along flat ground and up and down small hills. Downhill skis are made simply for going from the top of a hill to the bottom at a high rate of speed. So cross-country skis are more exercise. Downhill skis are also exercise, but a lot more thrilling. You can have a lot more fun downhill skiing. Although I do like cross-country skiing. I don't have cross-country skis though. Actually, I think there might be a pair in my garage. I should check. When you live in a country with winter, sometimes you own things and don't even realize it. I do know how to downhill ski, but when I go skiing, I rent skis. I rent skis and poles and a helmet. But downhill skiing is a lot of fun. You go up the chairlift and then you ski down. Lots of fun. And then if you are wanting to do something a little different, you can go snowboarding. Snowboarding is probably similar to skateboarding and similar to surfing, but you're doing it on snow. So a skateboard is a flat board with wheels. A surfboard is a flat board that you use on the water. And a snowboard is a flat board that you use when you go down a ski hill. So if you're wondering, you go skiing and snowboarding at the same place. You go to a ski resort and you buy a lift ticket that lets you go up the ski lift, and you can go skiing or snowboarding all day. At home, though, we usually just go sledding. We use a sled to slide down the hill behind our house. There is one video where I go sledding, if you ever want to watch that. Not sure if Dave can find it. It's the Let's Learn English in the Winter. There's two of them. It's the one with the thumbnail of me on, you know, the round sled, Dave, the blue round sleds. I'm on one of those. So anyways, a sled is just something you sit on in order to slide down a hill. Let me make it bigger for you. A lot of times kids will go sledding and their parents will go with them. It's not a common thing for adults to do. Usually adults do it with their children, but not with other adults. I don't meet my friends at the park to go sledding anymore. I did do that as a kid though. And then there's something called a toboggan, and this is the same as a sled, except it's made entirely of wood. So if you look at what these kids are sitting on, it's kind of a traditional type of sled called a toboggan. But I will say this, when we go sledding, we use little plastic sleds, but sometimes we actually say we're going tobogganing, even though we're not actually using a toboggan. There's another fun word to say, by the way, toboggan. I loved tobogganing as a kid. And I did love sledding and tobogganing with my own children when they were younger. Lots of fun. And this is the last slide, feet. So one of the most common ways to get from one place to another is to simply walk, is to use your feet. Humans are kind of cool in that way, that we are this walking, talking, thinking entity, person. If I want to go somewhere, I can just walk there. I can put one foot in front of the other. I can take as many steps as I need to get there. Mode says, Let's Learn English in the Snow is, I think, the title of the video. Yes. Is it the same one where I use my snowblower? I think so. Mode was referring someone to that a couple weeks ago too. They asked about snowblowing. I should watch that video again. But yes, if you want to see what sledding looks like, do a search for that video. Oh, I think Dave found it. Very cool. Okay. Hey, let's finish off some questions. There's a couple left. And then we'll wrap up the lesson. Michaelo, hello, Mr. Teacher Bob. Can you name 2 types of your favorite personal transports that you have ever used? Bicycle is out of the competition. Thank you. Thanks for your answer. I would say rollerblades. Obviously, ice skates. I would say, let me look at the list here. Kayak, crutches. No, those aren't my favorite, but I've been on crutches a couple times. Downhill skiing, cross-country skiing, snowshoes, canoe, kayak, sled, and I like a lot of the winter stuff, even though I don't do a lot of it anymore. Maybe this lesson will make me get back into doing more things outside. In the chat, Bean Sean says, I used to play sledding with my kids in Finland. It is very fun. It is fun. Definitely very, very fun. Hey, folks, that is the end of the lesson. I do need to get to work, so sorry that these lessons start an hour early and end 10 minutes earlier, but that's just the way it's going to go for a couple more months. Thank you for learning a bit. Remember, this lesson will come out in a shorter version in a couple days. Take some time to rewatch it or listen to it again, just to kind of reinforce what you have learned here. It was fun. I do really enjoy these Friday lessons, but I wish you all the best on the weekend. Have a good weekend. New lesson coming out Tuesday, of course. If you didn't watch this past Tuesday's lesson, dig it up. A lot of people watched it. It was a very popular lesson so far. It's doing really well. So I think that means people liked it. If it does well, I think that's what that means. Anyways, I'm going to get going. Oh, Modags in the chat said, I forgot jetpacks. Are those a reality yet? I know the one on water is a reality, but I don't know. I should do one on future transportation, shouldn't I? Spaceships and jetpacks and all that stuff. Anyways, I'm going to say bye to people. Bye to Mode, Bean Sean, Brent from Speak English with This Guy. Let's see here. I need my glasses. Oh, I don't have them. I can't read the names. Bye, Ralph. Bye, Wanda. Bye, Dave. Thanks, Dave, for helping out. Bye, Amindo and Pianporn. and Veronica and Ario. If I'm reading slow, it's because I don't have my reading glasses and the letters are too small. I'll just get going. Anyways, bye everybody. Oh, I can read Freddie Wolf's name because it's all capitals. Bye Freddie, bye CS Team, bye Noriko, bye Hoatran, Irina, Ario, Sophia, and all of you. Have a great day, everybody. And